Now, having said that, the people themselves are good people, and they are doing their best to reach a good decision based on the information they have available to them. That's one of the reasons this endorsement by the Des Moines Register is so important, because they made the argument that I make in every speech I give. It goes something like this: we live in a complicated, challenging time. There's a lot of good in it, otherwise we couldn't afford to be standing here. There's a lot of good in it because this crowd is more diverse than it would have been 30 years ago. Not only more diverse racially, there are a whole lot more women here than there would have been if we'd had this 30 years ago. And there are a lot more young people here than there would have been. If we'd only been like this 30 years ago, most everybody would have looked like me. Bunch of gray-haired white guys in suits. Looking over the crowd, I'm glad that my demographics have not been entirely eliminated. But I mean, come on, this is a much more interesting world than it used to be. And Atlanta is symbolic of that. And that's what John and so many others work for. But we have three huge problems in America and around the world. One is persistent inequality of opportunities in incomes and jobs, in health care, and in education. I mean, we're in the 6th year of the recovery, and family income is down $1,000 adjusted for inflation, median family income. Poverty is up among people working full-time. People working full-time are losing their health insurance. Health insurance premiums have gone up 87 to 90%, and it's responsible for enormous numbers of bankruptcies that families have. We're the only rich country in the world that can't figure out how to insure everybody, even though we spend $700 billion more on health care than we would spend if we had any other country's health care system here, without better outcomes. And the cost of education has gone to the roof at the college level, and there is still breathtaking disparity in elementary, middle school, and high school. That's the first big problem. Second big problem is half the world's mad at us. And we can't solve any, there's almost no problem you can mention of any significance that America can solve alone. And the people that are mad at us have gotten the feeling in the last 7 years that we would act on our own whenever we could and cooperate only when we have to. We need to turn that around and tell people we're going to cooperate whenever we can and act alone only when we have to. People around the world have gotten the idea that we will pull the trigger as quick as we can and resort to diplomacy if we can't force our will on other people. We need to flip that and say we're going to be diplomatic whenever we can, and military force will always be a last resort. The third big problem we've got is that we can't keep getting rich the way we've been getting rich. Our energy system is unsustainable because of global warming. That's why they gave out more than Nobel Prize. After being ridiculed for 20 years, telling us this was that. Now everybody recognizes it. But it is not enough to recognize that we have to prove that we can change to a clean, efficient energy economy in a way that creates economic opportunity instead of destroying it. If we can't do that, even if we did what we should do, China, India, all the other countries that are developing will never follow our lead. They will never, ever reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I talked to one of you here, and I told me that there will soon be a battery which will not have to be charged even tonight, but will take apart all the better alternatives. Once that happens, we're in a whole new world. And it will create massive numbers of jobs. So there are these three big challenges. Now, in that regard, you've got to pick a president. I like this election as someone who loves politics because I don't have to be against anybody. I like everybody in my party running for the presidency. And shoot, I even like to go with Republicans pretty well. Maybe it's just because I survived all that heart trouble and I can't run for anything anymore, but I'm too old and busy to get mad at anybody most days. But okay, guys, tell the truth. We got a lot of politicians here, but tell the truth to yourself. How many elections have you walked into a polling place and gotten right at the voting booth and you look at the slate of candidates and you said, well, I guess I'll have to vote for candidate C because I would just die if A or B got elected. We've all been there, haven't we? I don't feel that way. I like those. They're smart, they're articulate, they've thought about these issues, they've told us in pretty specific terms what they wish to do. And you don't have to be against any of them. And all of them say we're going to change the direction of our foreign policy, we're going to change the direction of our domestic policy. Now, I do believe that Hillary's healthcare and energy plans and education plans are the best, but it doesn't mean the others aren't good. That's not the issue. How do you go about picking a president if you got a bunch of good people who generally want to take the country in the same direction? You have to pick the person to do the best job of being president.